Good morning to you. Good morning. It is December 6th. I don't know how I almost forgot. It's not like I didn't just look at it. It is December 6th. It is a Friday. Um, and like every Friday, we always go through the audience and demographics and just giving them and showing them our appreciation, thanking them for being here and sharing in this digital space, especially those that's listening on a podcast distribution in the digital world, just giving them a thank you and appreciation. The same thing as I show for you, those who watch from the visual aspect, as opposed to those who listen on the audio aspect. For those that are watching right now, I say thank you. You have made it. You have made it this far in the week. It is Friday. You've made it through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So all that went on to you or around you throughout the week, you have made it to a Friday because it was someone that didn't wake up yesterday, but you did. You are awake and alive today to see that you can make it. You can continue to make it. Because you know you can, right? You know you can. All right, so a spirit of peace, just to make sure that we leave the same way we come, in peace that way. So one thing that I want to say to you this year, 2013, wow, where I get 2013? 2023 has been a very interesting year thus far. Interesting how, Mr. R2? Interesting because there's so much going on this month. You have a whole lot. Find yourself something, some activity that you can tap into about somebody else, or that you can learn more about this ticker, this old ticker that's down there right now. Week, so I need to make sure I change that because I saw it yesterday. I need to take that down. I almost forgot until I looked at it. Just go ahead and put the caption up because this conversation really came, or it was birthed out of yesterday's podcast when we were talking about forgiving forward. And in the conversation about forgiving forward, this actually came out, which was timing. Was it timing of forgiving? Timing of forgiving came out of yesterday's conversation of forgiving forward. So something from it, question that's proposed right here is, are you ready to forgive? Like whatever that is for you, whatever that might be you. But the question that you have to ask yourself and still look at it in the mirror and be honest and transparent about it, because the answer is going to come from you, not from somebody else, is, are you ready to forgive? So that's what I want to know. Like, are you really ready to look at, examine? Because remember yesterday, assessment forgiveness is for you, because there is an assessment phase that has to be communicated. Like, why am I forgiving and what am I forgiving? And then I move forward after that. So, all right, so we're going to jump into it and give thanks to our podcast distribution listeners. As you can see right there on the screen, of course, shouts out. Thanks to everybody that's here in the U.S. U.S. listeners at 88%. So Italy, Nigeria, thank you. South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, United Kingdom, Canada, South Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, France, Netherlands, United Arab Emirates. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Australia, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, New Zealand, Ireland, Turkey, Malaysia, Belgium, Latvia, and Denmark. That is a new one. We got Denmark. There is our highest, as you can see, our platforms, our highest where the population of listeners come from. Apple Podcasts is killing it. So if you have an iPhone, make sure you look up consistency is currency, and you're able to listen to the podcast there. Now, I will say, for those that watch it, there is a different experience when you just listen to it on a podcast distribution, because I changed the dynamics and the format and the feel of what you see and what you hear is going to be two different things. Like the music is different, things of that nature. So make sure you check that out. So second comes with the web browser. That means people pulling it up on a computer, or Anchor's coming in next, Spotify after that, and other. That's like Podbean, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, those things. That's what that is. Gender wise, 60% of our listeners are male, 20% are female, another 20% are unspecified. And now let's look at the age. Like, what are the ages that's listening to the podcast? And again, like always, just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. All right, so we see our listeners. The 40% of our listening market is 35 to 44. Then it comes even across the board after that, from the 23 to 27, 28 to 34, and a 45 to 59 is at 20% evenly across that. So what does that mean for you, especially if you're watching and you have a brand and you have a product, you have a service, and you're interested in just sponsoring the platform? Consistency is currency. You can see where your information then gets disseminated to in the age groups, as you can see in the international waters. For those that's looking to tap into those international things, you're able to see that we give you that wingspan and that demographic to push you in that space. So now we're going to really jump into what we all came here for, is to listen, to talk about timing of forgiving. So let me pull this screen up for you. Bam, here you go. All right. So what I want you to do is, inside the chat, put the word timing. Put the word timing inside the chat, because what you're going to do is, now what I want you to do is to begin to process your thoughts from a timing perspective. And I'm going to teach you something about timing today, just a different format of timing. So as you can see, well, for those that know, you're going to get definitions of words, no etymology, not today, just raw definition. So yeah, let's go. All right. So timing, I'm gonna kind of give you some definitions from yesterday too, especially from the forgiving side, because we went over that word yesterday. So it's best to bring it back to put it in context. All right. So timing, the definition of timing says the choice, judgment, or control of when something should be done. The choice, judgment, or control of when something should be done. And the inversion on this that I want you to pay attention to is red over white. So that means look at the words that are in red and how it resonates with you. Just go ahead and put how you see it inside the chat, just to make this a much more interactive relationship on this digital platform. So the red says the choice of when something should be done. Timing says the choice of when something should be done. And remember, we're talking about forgiving. Forgiving is a choice. It is a choice that one makes and an act that one commits to forgive. Remember again, timing is the choice of when something should be done. And let's go to the second definition of timing. It says the regulation of occurrence, pace, or coordination to achieve a desired effect. The regulation of occurrence, pace, or coordination to achieve a desired effect. And the inversion I want you to pay attention to on this one is white over red, which is the regulation of occurrence. And I want you to resonate with, I want you to soak that in just a little bit. Because remember, we're talking about forgiving. The regulation of occurrence. Like, think about that. the regulation of occurrence. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't happen because we don't allow it to happen, or the fear or the feelings that comes along with not forgiving. We can actually begin to regulate the occurrence on how many times that we don't forgive something or we don't change how we feel about something, and it will continue to happen over and over and over again. But what if you regulated that occurrence? What if you were a lot more forgiving? Do you think that you would be a lot more deserving? Do you think that you will receive more things if you were a lot more forgiving? Now, again, yes, I know that you won't forget. I mean, that's human nature. You won't forget. But what if you were a lot more forgiving? Trust and believe. I'm not saying what if you were a lot more soft or whatever it is that you want to say. Forgiving is not soft. It's not a soft thing. It's not a soft attribute to forgive. Forgiving is really like a mental, psychological, and spiritual cleansing that you go through instead of impacting all of that together, and then it becomes so stressful that's where pressure busts pipes, because you allow those things to happen and it gets compacted and they begin to compound on top of each other, and it takes you to a space that you can't release, and then you are releasing it at the wrong moment. But what if you regulated that occurrence? You gave forgiving and forgiveness time, because it took time out of your day that hurt and that pain just really destroyed your day. But what if you took the time out to declutter your day by just exercising, at least forming or formulating forgiveness, right? So now let's talk about, we're going back and bringing what we were discussing yesterday about forgiving, because remember yesterday in the definition of forgiving, it said stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. But remember, going back to what it just said in timing, a regulation a regulation of occurrence. Because when it says stop feeling, that means that you regulated the occurrence because you stopped yourself from feeling that way. You stopped yourself from the resentment that you've carried because you wanted to regulate the occurrence. You didn't want it to continue to happen. And because you didn't want it you did not want it to continue to happen, you actually did something about it, not waiting for someone else to do something about it, but you grabbing a hold of what you do have a responsibility in, which is your response and your reply. And you regulated that occurrence. You didn't allow it to continue because you wanted it to stop. And again, from yesterday, it said forgiving is a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings or resentment or vengeance toward a person or a group. The inversion is white over red, a conscious, deliberate decision. Because again, if you are going to regulate the occurrence, you're going to have to make a conscious, deliberate decision. Like, don't you know that there is a new legacy on the other side of you forgiving? Like, there is a newness that can happen. There is a newness that can take place after you begin to regulate the occurrence of a unforgiving action or an unforgiving notion. Because it's like there's a new line of healing on the other side of that forgiveness. Because it's like, where are you at in it? because there's new conversations after you have forgiven yourself or forgiven someone. There is a new smile that you can carry about yourself. There is a new laughter that you can carry or you can have about yourself. But your deliberate decision is waiting on your conscious effort and not your timing. How long are you going to hold on to that pain and resentment and unforgiving measures? Because the thing that is really going to hurt the most is how long you hold on to it. It's a process. I get it. It's a process. I know it. Now, I'm not communicating with you about anything that I haven't dealt with myself. So I can honestly say that the process sucks. It's it truly is a self-regulating process. Like, you regulate how long you want to feel that way. And then you make that conscious, deliberate decision that today is my last day of continuing to feel that way. I need to regulate the occurrence of how I forgive me for not forgiving, and being able to deliberately make a decision to consciously reach out and say, I just want to let you know that I forgive you and I apologize for not forgiving you when I probably should. You don't have to take unforgiven to the grave with you, nor do you not have to wait until that person passes away for you to go and ask for the forgiveness. You can forgive somebody and keep moving on. I don't mean just because you forgive them that you in their face every day, but forgiving them is more so releasing you. I'm going to say that again. Forgiving them is more so about releasing those things that you held on to, because then it allows you to breathe better and you breathe different after the process of forgiving has taken place. Then it's up to you. And remember, we talked about yesterday the etymology of forgiving, where it said it's Old English. I'm not going to say that word. It was hard saying it yesterday. Forgive. It's like forgiven, but it's like broken up, like real funny, like forgive fan. But going into what it means from the origin says give, grant, allow, and remit a debt, because forgiveness is a debt that you carry on with you until you release yourself from that particular debt, or release yourself from that feeling, that hurt and that pain that you carry. But again, what if you made a conscious, deliberate decision and an effort to forgive more? Then you grant yourself more of a time of peace and a time where you can grant yourself back knowing on who you are. Like, give yourself an opportunity to heal. Grant yourself the opportunity to be happy again, but you have to go ahead and pay that debt. Release yourself from that debt. You don't have to carry mama's pain anymore, because if you don't forgive mama, daddy, their cousin, your uncle, whatever it is, that's a debt that carries over into something or someone else. But remember, timing is the regulation of occurrence. You can cease the occurrence from happening again over and over into the next legacy and the next bloodline, but you have to remit yourself from that debt. That's a debt that you don't have to carry, right? I know. So let's go ahead and begin to tap into this process of the deep dive, right? All right, let's go. So many people are waiting. Like they say, I'm waiting on the perfect moment. I'm waiting on the perfect time. I'm waiting on this. I'm waiting on that. But what if waiting never actually materialized forgiveness? Because you've waited so much and you waited so long and you've waited until waiting becomes no more. So while you're waiting on the right moment, the perfect day, the ideal month, the perfect hour, or the perfect timing, you're waiting for someone to validate your emotions by waiting on someone to understand you. Like, can you hear me for once? But you're waiting on them to call your name. But why? You know your name. Like, perfectly aligning. You're waiting for a perfectly aligned situation that you have been waiting for far too long. And you're waiting for that thing to come as. But what if you started to work on it? Right? What if you faced it and started to work on it? You started to work on that forgiveness. And when you start to work on that forgiveness, you're actually starting to work on healing at the same time because you started to work on the forgiveness. Like your depression, your anxieties, your PTSD, your fear, and your resentment isn't waiting on the perfect moment or the convenient time, but it's going to show its face and roll up on you even when you don't expect it. But why are you waiting for the perfect time to forgive? The pain don't wait on you. The tears are not waiting on you. It's not, oh man, uh, 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 she's at work right now, so we ain't gonna come until she get in the car. Right? It doesn't happen that way. Oh, he's upset. Let's not make him real angry right now because he has a meeting at 1:00. Those feelings don't wait for you. I mean, it jumps on you during the time that you need to forgive the most. It eats at you like a little Debbie snack cake. Like, man, I know I shouldn't have done it. Like you feeling guilty, like I know I should have forgiven you a long time ago, but I want to make the time now. I want to make the time now. I want that right now speed because that right now speed, actually, you're looking at it for something that is so important to you that now is the time that it needs to take place. Like you're going to lose your appetite. But what if you lost your appetite for fear? And you lost your appetite for depression and anxieties? Because if you're ever going to begin to feed yourself something a lot more with a lot more nutritional value, like forgiving and forgiveness and healing, you're going to have to lose that appetite for fear. Like you do know you don't have to eat anxiety all day. There's other nutritional things that you can chew on and eat on, like forgiveness, forgiving, and healing. It's like you're going to have to go through and learn how to detox from your fears. Like developing those measures to detox and flush out those unhealthy, stressful fear toxins and learn how to forgive yourself before you can ever begin to forgive someone else. And if detoxing your fears, meaning that you're going away for a week or something like that, then do that. That's something that you're taking those occurrences, and then regulating those occurrences because you don't want it to continue to happen. So you're doing something about it. You're making the time now. Right now, you may be walking into your season of forgiveness. Like this may be your year. I don't know. I don't know who this was for. But if it was for you, it's your season of forgiving. Like it will become one of the most de-stressing, decompressing, mentally decluttering season that you may ever find yourself in. Because if being unforgiving isn't going to wait to attack you, maybe you shouldn't wait to attack it. If doing something about your anxieties, if your anxiety isn't going to wait for 2 o'clock when you get off at 1, then why are you waiting for you to do something about the feelings of the anxieties that you carry? It's not waiting for you. So why do you continue to wait for it? Like, you know what? I know I need to go sit with someone, but I'll wait after springtime because I got something to do. That makes no sense. You need help like yesterday, but you're still waiting to have tomorrow's conversation about today. You're waiting and living in yesterday. Your fears are still in yesterday and it's present in today, and it'll be carried over until tomorrow, until you get after it. Because this is your season of forgiving. Stop waiting for the la la land perfect time, because timing is only of the essence to those who value it the most. The timing of forgiving is the right now. It's the right now moment. Like, how long are you going to be holding on to that unforgiving feeling that it eats away at every bit and every piece of happiness that you can ever have? That's what unforgiveness does to you. It hurts. That's that pain and that thorn in your side that you can't figure out how to let go and how to shake. That's because that person that you probably should have forgiven yesterday or yesteryear is still not forgiven, because that is going to not just go to your grave. That's going to skip a generation and you're going to see it again. Trust and believe. But what if you were the one in your generation that stopped that unforgiving thing that carries over into that trauma, that carries over into your child, that trauma that carries over into your son, because mama didn't want to forgive, because daddy didn't want to forgive, or you didn't want to forgive your brother, but you're trying to figure out why your two sons is battling and going at it, but you and your brother been going at it for years. You can't pick and choose when forgiveness is going to take place, because forgiveness is not going to pick and choose who it attacks. Hey, timing of forgiveness is now. Whatever it is, whoever it is that you need to forgive, make that moment and do something about it. You don't have to wait till they're on their dying bed, and you don't have to wait till you're on yours. Because it may be someone who don't even have a dying bed. They may just get taken away just like that. In that moment when you could have said something, you didn't make it important. So therefore, it gets carried over. That debt of unforgiveness gets carried over. That resentment gets carried over. All right, that's enough. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Jennings said that was a part of her TEDx talk on forgiveness. Timing is a valuable variable to receiving freedom from forgiveness. Yes, ma'am. How you doing, Miss Nisi? Miss Latricia, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you. Um, yeah. Y'all be blessed. And I'll see you Monday here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Peace.